Hello, I am Jody Wolf. You're watching Expoz, July 31, 2016 at 12:01 a.m. Birmingham. Topic. This is part two, I guess you can say, of socialism versus capitalism. And I've got a little bit to add to this that really don't have any ties with it, but then again, maybe it has. Any case, do you know why a group of men, a group of good men, decided to get out of France back in the late 1600s? Well, because they got tired of the government telling them what to do all the time. That's what started capitalism. I'm not sure capitalism was as big as it is in the world as it is today. I just don't believe that, well, of course, way back you didn't have many people and you didn't have that many opportunities. But on the other hand, had you added in as many people, the opportunity wouldn't be there because even in France, you didn't have the free choice. And this is why these men left. This is why these men come here. This is why we have the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and a multitude of other laws that are laid out there to protect them, those who left Britain and came here and started their own. So it's good to have that law because it protects all of us. But when you decide you want to vote, and I'm going to beat this horse, it's dead, but I'm going to beat it, for Sanders or Clinton, and of course Sanders already gave up, but then you're voting to be socialist. You're voting to back up and go be what it was like in the 1600s and earlier in France. The government was the only body in charge. Of course, you had the king, and which doesn't mean a thing. I mean, it's the same people, same family. Didn't make them good. Doesn't make them, they just do their own thing. There are not many kings in France. And we had a group of men that left, came here, and to have and to know freedom and not to have known anything other than, we're very lucky. If you go and read, research, and look at the way it is in communist or in socialist countries today and read the difference between the two, you'll quickly choose to be free. Leprosy. I know it's a big jump one place to another, but leprosy, the thing that started it, of course, there was a disease, but a simple scratch on a person could give him leprosy because there were not antibiotics that treated it back in that day. And leprosy was all the way back in the Middle East, and of course in India, all over India. Jesus healed many of leprosy. But in India, leprosy is kind of stunts the growth of the children, because if they know your parents have it, whether you do or not, your career is put on hold. It'll reach a certain level, but it can't go beyond that. And that's true today still. And again, nothing but simple random antibiotics will cure that. But even if your parents are cured, They don't have it, but the remnants of it, they can't regrow hands and fingers and eyes. It affects the eyes. You have to keep that quiet, or your brakes are put on in your way of life and how high you can go in life. So keep that in mind. This is socialism, hardcore. And then there's even another very unfortunate group of people in India, and I've not heard of it in anywhere but India, and they're called the Untouchables. The Untouchables is considered a lower class, period, the lowest class of people. And they're forced, because they are the Untouchables, to clean. Back when this started and when they were tagged with that name, there were not, of course, the Romans had it way back then, but along the way it got lost in India. This is clean restrooms. In India, it runs down the street. You know, the outhouses, the latrines are still all over India. And even the houses, not many of them have commodes or sewers, so it runs down the street. But people called the Untouchables, the lower caste people, that was their job. They're forced to clean that, and they have to do it by hand. And the Untouchables are the bottom of the bottom, but they're still socialists. The bottom of the socialists. But to even think about voting socialism in, you're coming in at the top of the wave. 20 years down the road, you'll wish to God you never heard the name socialist. But yet there's intelligent people in our country that are ready to vote to become socialists. You think, since you have been going years without a job, no work, you don't want work, because you see it's better to draw free money because it's more than what you can earn working, so you choose to do that. This is going to lead your family and their families into being the lower caste, the lowest of the low people. Look back easily on your record. Well, what did they do 50 years ago? Well, they didn't have but one person per family had a job. The government paid for them the whole time. Then they voted to go communist socialist. You know, Hillary took them right on into the very heart of being a socialist. So that's when we made them get up and get a job. Believe me, being a socialist, they force you to work. And they dictate the size of the house, or rather apartment you live in, not the size of a house. You'll never have a house. That's beyond, I mean, you can give that dream up. Being socialist, if you are 5 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old today, and Hillary Clinton is voted in, and she spends 2 terms, 8 years, as a socialist president, then your life as a socialist has just begun. You will work, like it or not. You do not draw free money. Everything you work goes to the government. They'll give you back a little bit, but they'll give it to you in the size of a 250 or 300 square foot apartment, providing there are at least 2 of you and you're married. Cuba, you have to either live with one parent or the other. You don't have a choice. In Cuba, you don't get a apartment. You're socialist. What do you expect? That's what they do. The government dictates everything that you do. And you want a new car? Forget it. You'll never drive one in your life. That's over. If you want a business and Hillary's in place, forget it. That part of your life is never going to come back. You want to move out in the country? Well, first you have to escape the city you're assigned to. Did you know that? You are assigned to a town. That's where you will stay. You will have to get permission if you are fortunate enough to have relatives that do live out on the countryside, that do have, from the old days, a small farm that they were able to keep in the family. If you want to go visit or vacation with them, the government has to give you permission to leave town. And you have to leave when they tell you to leave, and you have to be back when they tell you to be back. And don't expect 2 weeks. I don't care how far away it is. And if you drive there, you got to have the gas. You got to have the open service stations. Well, you know, that's going to be tough. Where'd you get the money for the gas? Where'd you get a car that could take a 300-mile trip? Think about all the things you have today and give them up. Give up cable TV and you will have state TV instead. Nothing more, state TV. And state TV will teach you and tell you and dictate to you the rules under which you live in that country. And we're talking about America. You will see our TV dramatic. There'll be a dramatic change. Internet will all but disappear. It won't happen overnight, but you'll see the first year things happen that, wait a minute, now I didn't vote for this. Oh, but yes, you did. 2 years, it gets worse. Well, I didn't want this. Oh, yes, you did. You voted for it. 4 years, my God, I don't even have health insurance. Well, that's what you voted for. And it gets much worse. So think about it. It gets so bad, even Glenn Beck did a 6-part series called On the Glenn Beck Show on January 22, 2010, 1 part of 6, full documentary, Live Free or Die. It's all about socialism. And the difference between socialism and capitalism, those things don't apply to you. All those things I just told you. You're communist, all those things apply to you. You're capitalist, none of those things apply to you. Think about it. Capitalist, you can buy you a new car when you want to, when you earn enough money. Capitalist, you can get cable TV. Capitalist, you can build you a business. Capitalist, you can move out to the country. Capitalist, you can move to another town. None of those things can you do if you're socialist. You live the way the government tells you to live. And if you buck them in any way, you get jail time. And it's not sitting in a cell. They're going to put a 12-weight sledgehammer in your hand and put you on the road. And you're going to be in a chain gang. That'll be your job until they decide, because they won't give you a defined punishment. You go until they decide they'll let you come back. And if you spoke against the government during any of this, then your penalty is doubled automatically. Think about, do you want Clinton and do you want to live in a 250 square foot apartment, or you want to be capitalist, get you a business one day or work hard and keep what you make, build you a nice house out in the country, or build your condo in town? Which one do you want to do? You cannot have both. One's yours. The other one you cannot have once you've taken one. I take that back. Once you're socialist, you're not going to get out of it. Not in this country. There's too many people that don't want to work, and they have no idea what they're getting into until they're in it, and then they're not getting out of it. I promise you what I'm telling you is 100% truth. Unless your parents are very wealthy, and I mean people know them, then your days of new car, your days of new TV, there's no such thing. They're gone. Jody Wolf Expoz.